my name is Avalin and I am a Canadian au pair in the beautiful Canary Islands. I am going to tell you the story of my au pair journey, and here is that story. So my story actually starts when I was a kid, around 6 years old. I had my first au pair. She was from the Netherlands. We lived in a nice house with a perfect room for an au pair. She had her own room and her own bathroom attached to everything. It was perfect. My brother was just about 1 year old, and I went to school, to kindergarten, as she looked after him, and it was an amazing experience. So I had au pairs until I was about 11 years old. And this sort of set the path for my au pair journey, because once I got to grade 12 and I didn't know what I wanted to do in the following years, I decided to become an au pair. I was actually super blessed and lucky enough to go to the almost only Spanish school in my city growing up, and I was in Spanish immersion, so I decided that I wanted to be with a Spanish family in my grade 12 year. Instead of looking for scholarships or applying to university, I was looking for a family, and I was using perfect AuPairWorld. I found my family, probably it took me about a month. We were talking a lot, chatting and making sure everything would work out and getting tickets and everything. It was super duper exciting. All the time I was thinking about my past au pairs and how amazing and how much I love them and how excited I was to have that for me now, being an au pair. I was in contact with my first family, and my mom actually surprised me with a trip to go to New York for graduation. And so my first time traveling away from my family, I had a big party and I had all my friends and I traveled to New York. Me and my mom had an amazing time in New York, and then it was time for me to fly to Madrid. This was my first big crazy thing that happened to me when I started my au pair journey. I had said goodbye to my mom. I had never been away from home for more than 2 weeks, and I was about to leave for a year. And I said goodbye to my mom. I was crying. I got to my gate and my flight was canceled. So I had to put on my big girl pants and talk to some person, and they sent me to New Jersey in a taxi. And I made my way to New Jersey and then caught my flight to Madrid. That was the first triumph of becoming an au pair for me. Then I met my family. I flew to Madrid and then I flew to Asturias. I was super jet lagged. I met my family and fell in love with the kids. It was super good for the first couple of weeks. For the first month, I was jet lagged. I was figuring things out, making connections with the kids. I made so many friends so fast. It was incredible. I was doing so well for myself. About a month in, or maybe a month and a half, I started to realize that me and my host family were not matching up so well. This is something that I talked to my other au pair friends about, and talked to my mom and all my support system, and we all agreed that this family was not the right choice for me. I was disappointed and filled with so many emotions. I ended up finding a new family very quickly with AuPairWorld, and they were a new family on the Canary Islands. I was very excited, even though they didn't speak Spanish. They actually speak Polish. It's a new adventure for me, and I was very excited. When I was leaving my family, there was a little bit of a disagreement and some conflict that was resolved, but one thing that I had to remind myself a lot was that a lot of the things that were going on were not my responsibility. And this is something that I've had to remind to a lot of au pairs who are struggling with a family that might not be the best pick for them, is that you can still be a very good person and have good morals, but you need to remember that you are just a young person trying to have an experience of a lifetime while connecting with a family and being able to use your skills. It doesn't mean that you have to put all of yourself into something, even though it definitely feels like that, especially when you're living with a family. I had to remind myself that it wasn't my responsibility. If I didn't feel comfortable in the household, it wasn't my responsibility to stay, and that I was able to make that choice for myself, even though it made some conflict. It's not fair to yourself to stay somewhere where you don't feel comfortable. The big struggle for us is that they actually don't speak any English or Spanish, and so that's one of the reasons I'm here, is I get to interact with them in English and a little bit of Spanish sometimes. My family pays for my Spanish classes to make up for it, and I have an amazing routine going. I have some amazing friends now, and it's just the best experience I could ever ask for here. I'm super comfortable with the family. I'm not overworking. I feel so comfortable. I feel like I can eat food. That's also something that I hear a lot of au pairs struggling with. You should be able to eat the food in your house. I feel like I have my own space. I feel like I can spend time with the family. I'm incredibly, incredibly happy here, and I really hope to come back. Also, I live on a beautiful island. The sunset is happening right now in the background. It's stunning. But yeah, more of my story. I actually was super blessed and grateful. I'm so grateful to this day. I made an amazing friend. Her name is Mary, and we actually flew to Paris together. I had left my host family and packed all my things and headed to Paris with one of my new au pair friends. We went to Paris for about a week. It was an amazing experience. And then I actually traveled by myself to Rotterdam, which is where I met up with my first ever au pair. I hadn't seen her in 12 years, and it was so incredible to be able to add this to my journey. I stayed with her and her boyfriend. We ate amazing food. She showed me around her city, and we looked at old photos together. It was so, so amazing, and I hope that I get to have that experience with my kids one day. Then I traveled to Amsterdam, and I was lucky enough, all of my au pair friends in Asturias had this weekend off. We traveled to Madrid together. It was super amazing. I said goodbye to all of my friends, tears everywhere, and I moved to the Canary Islands. I hopped on a plane and came here. Here there's actually something called Kalima, and when I got here the sky was filled with dust, and so I didn't know what was happening, but each day it just got more beautiful and beautiful.
So it all started when I was just 6 years old, and now I'm 18, au pairing myself. All thanks to AuPairWorld. I am so happy, and I hope that you on your journey watching this can also find the most amazing family. Or maybe you already have, and you are living the best life that you can right now. My advice is, if you can take a year off, do it, and find an amazing Polish family who lives on an island with 2 cuties. So, that's me. Mwah! Mwah!